Tonight, ODPEM's National Disaster Risk Management launched its Hurricane Preparedness Island-wide campaign earlier today.
We are in a state of readiness. We are almost 100% ready in terms of our shelters. There are 867 shelters island-wide, and we have done assessment on almost 90%.
NWA says the government has earmarked $100 million for the cleaning of drains and clearing of verges across the island. Still tonight, 37 new COVID-19 cases and 1 virus-related fatality recorded yesterday, taking confirmed cases now to 48,594 and fatalities to 949. And as 1-year-old Jadon Burrell battles stage 4 neuroblastoma, which is a childhood cancer, his parents are seeking the public's assistance to fund treatment overseas, urgently needed to save his life.
I got a hospital, Nicholas Children's Hospital in Miami, Florida, and around 2 weeks ago, they called me and told me that the estimate is $1 million US. That was the time when I realized that I need not to keep it as a secret no more. So this was the time now I realized what was really going on.
Good evening. The Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM's National Disaster Risk Management Hurricane Preparedness launched their island-wide campaign earlier today under the theme Hurricane Readiness in Trying Times. Acting Director General of ODPEM, Mr. Richard Thompson, says that this is an above-average hurricane season, adding to the challenges of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic.
Disasters have the ability to disrupt population, change lives, and erode economic gains, thus retarding a country's development. Globally, many countries have seen this impact to their economies as a result of COVID-19, and Jamaica has not been spared as it relates to our impact. Now, to add to our COVID realities is a hurricane season that is projected to be an above normal one, and we would have seen one out-of-season hurricane thus far with Anna. These realities make our preparedness measures even more important. This year, our hurricane preparedness campaign will be observed under the theme Hurricane Readiness in Trying Times, a theme that gives our current reality a rather fitting end. To say we are in a dynamic or trying times in our history would be an understatement. There are fundamental social occurrences rapidly everywhere. Disasters are happening, and this is a reality in today's world.
Mr. Thompson added that ODPEM has taken a multi-sectoral approach to shelter management in light of the COVID-19 pandemic.
The capacity per shelters have reduced by 50% under the COVID-19 standard. Shelters capacity in terms of square footage have increased from 20 square feet to 40 square feet per person to allow for physical distancing. In preparing for the 2021 hurricane season, ODPEM conducted a series of shelter management training across the island, where our shelter managers were re-engaged in shelter management material, which include our COVID-19 shelter guidelines. Training and capacity building took place in 2020, and we will continue to add on this with the additional community volunteers being trained and sensitized. The ODPEM website was revamped, which we are very proud of, and we are now seeing where our website, which is the www.odpem.org.jm, will have on this website the shelters across the island, so persons can find the shelters which are closest to them. Via our shelter management mapping program, we were able not only to pin each individual shelters, but persons can go on our website and see the shelters that are open. You just click on them and they change from red to green.
Desmond McKenzie, Minister of Local Government and Community Development, said that the local government, along with ODPEM, are in a state of readiness.
The Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management are working closely with the municipal corporations and the various stakeholders that we are in a state of readiness. We are almost 100% ready in terms of our shelters. There are 867 shelters island-wide, and we have done assessment on almost 90% of shelters across the island. The question has been raised about isolations in regards to COVID-19. All our shelters are equipped with isolation areas so that persons, if they come down with COVID, will be relocated to these shelters. Training for disaster coordinators and various stakeholders are well advanced. On Friday, we'll be spending all day meeting with the disaster coordinators, the various stakeholders in an all-day meeting to continue the preparations as we get into hurricane season. A word of advice and notice, we want to also emphasize that we are not just talking about the hurricane season. We are still faced with earthquake, and the discussion that we've been having with the ODPEM and the Ministry of Health surrounds the heat conditions that we are expecting to have some severe impact on the country during the summer.
For his part, Prime Minister Andrew Holness explained that despite the impact of COVID-19 on the country, the government is focused on the need to safeguard the country for a faster and stronger recovery.
We are here now to launch the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management National Hurricane Preparedness Campaign for the 2021 Atlantic hurricane season, which starts today, June 1. The campaign is guided by the theme, Hurricane Readiness in Trying Times, and are we in trying times now? With a special focus on community and youth involvement in disaster risk management to increase preparedness levels. This is our second hurricane season in the midst of a pandemic. The restrictions imposed by COVID-19 will alter our emergency and recovery responses. However, we are not daunted. We are focused on strategically putting in place what we need to safeguard our faster and stronger recovery. The objectives of the National Hurricane Preparedness Campaign are to increase public awareness of all hazards, increase visibility island-wide, create a culture of compliance, strengthen public knowledge to cause behavior change in how we plan and prepare for disasters, increase youth involvement in community outreach projects and programs. The ODPEM, of course, plays the lead role in the achievement of these objectives as the National Disaster Coordinating Agency.
Still making the news tonight, the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, IFRC, are currently mobilizing and ramping up the efforts of hundreds of Red Cross teams across the Americas in preparation for another hurricane season during the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, experts predict that 13 to 20 named storms will form in the Atlantic Ocean only. 6 to 10 of those developing into hurricanes and 3 to 5 possibly becoming major hurricanes of Category 3 or higher. Now, the IFRC in a statement today said that these storms could bring further devastation to a region that is still heavily affected by last year's storms and hurricanes and the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, during the next 6 months, deadly rains, landslides, and floods could further affect communities already grappling with the pandemic, where vaccines are not yet widely available and where livelihoods have been destroyed. To mitigate the logistical challenges caused by COVID-19 restrictions, the IFRC says that they have pre-positioned humanitarian goods in Panama, Guatemala, Honduras, and across the Caribbean to provide immediate response to the humanitarian needs of up to 60,000 people. Mr. Roger Alonso, IFRC's head of the Disasters, Crisis and Climate Unit, said that in Jamaica, the Red Cross has increased its preparedness for the upcoming hurricane season, with increased volunteer sensitization and mobilization, capacity and facilities assessment, as well as the public prepositioning of emergency stock in its branches island-wide. In other news tonight, the National Works Agency, NWA, says the government has earmarked $100 million for the cleaning of drains and clearing of verges across the island. This, the organization says, forms part of the first phase of national preparations for the 2021 North Atlantic hurricane season. The NWA said the works under this multi-million-dollar program will be carried out by NWA parish teams and is slated to commence shortly. Manager of Communication and Customer Service at the NWA, Stephen Shaw, said the program of works is currently being finalized and will target critical drains located in flood-prone areas in various communities island-wide. This is the first of 3 planned flood mitigation programs of works that will be carried out by the agency over the next 6 months in relation to the current hurricane season. Shaw further stated that the program augments some of the works undertaken over the last 6 months, during which roads and drains were rehabilitated under the Secondary Roads Program. The agency said that over $3 billion was spent during the last fiscal year under the Secondary Roads Program, which targeted main and community roads. Still tonight, Jamaica recorded 37 new cases of COVID-19 and 1 virus-related fatality yesterday, taking the country's confirmed cases now to 48,594 and total fatalities to 949. According to the latest statistics from the Ministry of Health and Wellness, the latest death is of an 86-year-old female from Hanover. The ministry also reported 3 additional deaths as under investigation and another death as coincidental. The new cases consist of 21 females and 16 males, ranging in age from 5 to 93 years. The new cases were recorded in Westmoreland with 7 cases. Kingston and St. Andrew and Clarendon recorded 5 cases each. Hanover and St. Anne recorded 4 cases each. Portland and St. Catherine recorded 3 cases each. Manchester and Trelawney recorded 2 cases each, while St. James and St. Mary recorded 1 case each. The ministry said 187 patients recovered from the virus, pushing the total virus recoveries to 25,485. There are currently 21,784 active cases of the virus on the island. Continuing with the news tonight, the United Nations World Food Programme, WFP, has donated 11,339 food packages and 30 tablets valued at just over $1.06 million to the government of Jamaica. The items that were handed over to the Ministry of Labour and Social Security form part of the government's COVID-19 care program to assist vulnerable households, particularly the elderly. Minister of Labour and Social Security, Karl Samuda, in expressing his appreciation, said that the donation will enhance the government's efforts to reduce the impact of COVID-19 on the food security of the most vulnerable. Minister Samuda explained that Jamaica is fighting to decrease infection rates within the country, with the elderly population being the most affected and more vulnerable to succumbing to the virus. Now, one of the most crucial strategies for curbing the spread of COVID-19 is to stay at home. Meanwhile, Mr. Regis Chapman, regional representative for the WFP in Barbados, pointed out that the provision of access to food as well as technical and logistical support is paramount during times of crisis, and the pandemic is no exception. He explained Jamaica has significant experience in using social protection in the context of a disaster. The government and people of Jamaica are therefore in a prime position to further strengthen their response capacities through this partnership. Still making Mello TV news, as one-year-old Jadon Burrell battles stage 4 neuroblastoma, which is a childhood cancer. His parents are seeking the public's assistance to fund urgent treatment overseas needed to save his life. More on this story with Javon Thomas.
The parents of one-year-old Jadon Burrell are seeking help to fund the operation needed to save his life as he battles stage 4 neuroblastoma. Justine Hewitt, the mother of the child, told our reporters how she found out about her son's diagnosis.
I did 3 ultrasounds. The 3rd ultrasound at the St. Joseph Hospital showed that Jadon has a cyst inside his stomach. The doctors said it was a cyst at first. So when Jadon was born at Jubilee, the pediatrician there did examine Jadon, and they said that they couldn't feel the cyst. So they scheduled me to do an ultrasound on him personally when he was born. At this time he was 3 months old. I did over the ultrasound at St. Joseph again on him. The doctor said yes, they're still seeing a cyst in Jadon's stomach. They were calling it a cyst at first. Went back to Jubilee with the result. They examined him again. They said that they still don't feel anything. So they recommend me to the Bustamante Children's Hospital, to the surgeons. When I went there the next day, the following day, the surgeons examined Jadon. They said that they didn't feel anything. They said that they don't see any sign of nothing or nothing at all. So they said that they're going to do some tests on him. So they did some urine tests, blood tests, send them overseas to check if it was cancer. They said at Bustamante that they're not going to call it a cyst. They're going to call it a mass because they don't know what it is. So it is a mass.
She also said that after removing over 80% of the mass found in little Jadon's abdomen, the cancer still remained and now requires overseas medical assistance.
I got a hospital, Nicholas Children's Hospital in Miami, Florida, and around 2 weeks ago, they called me and told me that the estimate is $1 million. That was the time when I realized that I need not to keep it as a secret no more from my friends, families, some of my co-workers, because my manager knew. So this was the time now I realized what I was really going up against. I was like, $1 million, that is impossible. So the price that they told me literally broke me down as well. I couldn't even continue working. I had to come home because my son gives me strength because he's a very strong baby. So when I see him, I get strong because he's strong.
The father shared how he felt after hearing about his son's diagnosis.
It was to my surprise hearing that he has been diagnosed with stage 4 neuroblastoma. Very sad, very not happy, you know what I mean, at this moment in spite of what he has been going through. But moreover, he has been very healthy in spite of the situation, happy, joyful. Yes, it's not easy at all, I can tell you, it's not easy. I mean, we're hard-working people, me and his mommy, and his grandparents as well. And right now, when we hear this and get to understand that we are in this type of a situation, knowing that it's not bearable at the moment for us, we have to go out, we have to go to the public, seeking for the help of trying to save this little child's life. My dear son, we are seeking to the public for prayer. We know we have a lot of prayer team out there, a lot of prayer warriors. We have a lot of people out there who might not be able to, pray or donate, but they can share the link in the meantime. Someone might just see that can be very, very helpful to the situation at the moment.
We will have more on this story immediately following tonight's newscast. I'm Javon Thomas, reporting for Mello TV News.
Thanks, Javon. Continuing with the news tonight, the male nurse's assistant accused of sexually assaulting a 15-year-old patient at the Noel Holmes Hospital in Hanover was charged yesterday and is slated to appear in court tomorrow. The accused has been identified as 45-year-old Damian Bigby of a Hanover address. He is facing the charge of indecent assault. Reports coming into our news center are that the 15-year-old student was admitted to the Noel Holmes Hospital on May 19 after she reportedly ingested pills in an attempt to commit suicide. According to the allegations, Bigby fondled the girl while she lay in bed at approximately midnight on May 21. The teenager reported the incident to nurses and her mother the following morning. Her mother then made a report to the police, who arrested Bigby on May 24. The Western Regional Health Authority, WRHA, launched an investigation into the incident. And those are some of the stories making news. We will return with other stories as Prime Minister Andrew Holness has dubbed the new project Residences at the Terra Nova as a strong signal of a rebound of our economy, even in the ongoing pandemic. And the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information has postponed the sitting of all the remaining national assessments at the primary level until the latter half of the Christmas term of the upcoming 2021 to 2022 academic year. But first, we will take a break and then join Christopher Scott with the latest in sports.